Hello, sleepy friends. Most people with the chronic illness are sleepy, but if you're not sleepy, we can still be friends. This is Dawn Super from GoingBeyondCoping.com and Positively Narcolepsy on Facebook. Today I want to talk about judgment, both self-judgment and judgment from others, how I went about changing my perspective to the point where I no longer accept the judgment of others, and I don't judge myself either. I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. I've had chronic illnesses since I was 11. I have 9 diagnosed disorders, plus a bunch of other hokey baloney that drives me crazy. I can't tell you what will help you cope with being judged, but it's my hope that you'll listen to my story and put it through the you filter and apply it to you. And maybe that way you can find more coping, cope a little better. Just maybe find your way to going beyond coping, which is my whole purpose, is to try and help you get there into thriving and loving your life. I got there, and I want to take everybody else with me. Okay, this is another of my What Happens If I Don't Wednesday series, where I talk about how I use the question to change my life. I have a lot of these now on the videos tab on the Positively Narcolepsy page on Facebook and on YouTube. The channel is Going Beyond Coping, and there are no spaces in between the letters. Okay, so this is common sleep deprivation symptoms. A lot of people have sleep deprivation, not just people with narcolepsy. If you have chronic pain that's keeping you from sleeping, if you have insomnia, if you have hypersomnias, even just illness can keep you from sleeping good or at all. So the things listed on here are fatigue, mood changes, difficulty concentrating, memory problems, paranoia, and hallucinations. You would think it would take a long time to get there, but all that starts like really 24 hours into sleep deprivation. And being sleepy weakens the mind. It's why sleep deprivation of prisoners is considered torture. In psychology today, they called it insidious torture, proceeding in a gradual and subtle way with harmful effects. They also called it unproductive because, surprise, after 24 hours of sleep deprivation, you have problems with concentration, memory, judgment, even speaking can be difficult. I get really quiet when I'm super tired because I can't talk right. Have you ever agreed with someone just to shut them up? You've been successfully tortured. All right. There's a video series on my YouTube channel. It's about the modes that people with chronic illness live in. And it's important to realize which mode you're in because when you're compromised, it's not the best time to make plans. And it's harder to execute them or to even remember to execute them. I forgot to say that I know a lot of people get sleepy watching videos or just can't handle videos. And this is a script I typed up, and it's on my blog at GoingBeyondCoping.com. The title is What Happens If I Don't Accept the Judgment of Others. And you could read that there instead of listening if that's easier for you. But please like it before you go because that'll help more people who need it see it. There's a link to the playlist for the series I just mentioned about the modes of chronic illness that people live in. So my first glimpse into getting control over feeling judged by others came during a conversation with a psychic, which is kind of funny. They gave the reading and they said something that was sort of accurate, but not really accurate. So because they were pulling this off of me, I spent some time thinking, like, what is it about that made it look that way to the person? Like whether or not it was accurate, what is it? What's similar about it? And so I took a look at that. The reason why people can judge you without knowing you is what I call highlight reel syndrome. I didn't coin the term, but yeah, highlight reel syndrome is when people only see a portion of your life and they make judgments based on the portion that they see or what they know to be true. So the psychic was just interpreting what they were seeing. So if you apply that to everybody, right? Like, take out the fact that this person was a psychic and they could just be your buddy, and what they're saying to you isn't accurate, and you know it's not accurate. So you can just not agree. It seems so simple, doesn't it? Okay, my analytical brain found it quite interesting, and I applied this when I was having trouble with my ex. I would think, what about me would make him think that was true? And I could see it by standing on the other side of the table from his eyes. I could completely see what made him feel that way. But, and it's a big one, that's not the way I feel, right? Who knows me better than me? Me or him? Obviously, I know myself better than he does. So that was my conundrum. At the time, I didn't really know myself. I had come out of a 15-year marriage, and everything that I was filtered through that. And it wasn't a happy marriage, most of it. So that filter was there too. So I decided I really wanted to get to know myself. Like, what did I stand for? What was I all about? And what could I do about the fact that I was being misperceived? Because I was. I recently watched a Joe Dispenza video. He's a very interesting guy. He's got tons of free stuff on YouTube to listen to. He healed his broken back by thinking about it. It's a great story, even if you just listen to that part of it. But he talks about when you want to have a new life, you need to create a new personality. And that's what I had done, and that's why it worked, was because I was able to identify the things I didn't like and the things I did like, and then consciously change my personality to weed out all the things that were super reactionary to the life I had been living at that time. They weren't me as much as they were responses to what was around me. So a lot of people rub up against that. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. People don't change. But those are fallacies. People change all the time. If they want to change, they'll change. If they don't want to change, you can't make someone change. But people change all the time. They say a leopard can't change its spots, but you're not a leopard. You're a person. And you've already done quite a bit of changing, actually, if you think about it. You were this person if you're a girl, that person if you're a boy. You were small, and you had the thoughts that were inside your head at that time and all the experiences that you went through in your life. And then you grew up. And even as an adult, if you are an adult, you've done a lot of growing. I mean, you're not the same person that you were when you were 21, even if you're only 30. It's a long time that went by, and a lot of living and a lot of people meeting and a lot of experiences that shaped who you are. So now you just have to ask yourself, where do I want to go from here? because life is a daily thing. I mean, you're having this experience as a human being, and you have the ability to play around with it like every day, every minute if you wanted to. How well do you really know yourself? You know, have you ever taken the time to sit down and like imagine you were a screenplay writer and you're going to describe yourself as a character in a movie? Like, if people say something, I actually hear this quite a bit. Someone will say, "Oh, well, this happened to me," and I thought to myself, "What would Dawn say?" and and that's what it's all about, but for yourself, right? Like, if you're looking at a situation, what would I do in that situation? I do that with my kids a lot, actually. I create all these fictitious scenarios. So someone comes over to you and says, blah, blah, blah. What do you say in response to that? And you can have some really great conversations with your kids that way. I tended to take a lot of learning for granted with my kids. My son is 13, he's taller than me already. And I literally have to remind myself over and over again, he's only 13. He's only had 13 years worth of experiences. There's just a lot of things that he doesn't know. And I'm like that. I'll be 50 in March. There's still so many things that I don't know. I'm constantly learning new things and growing as a person on a daily basis. And that's what I enjoy doing. That's why I'm so happy all the time, is because I'm not afraid to learn how to do things differently. I created a self-inventory worksheet. It'll be linked in the caption of this video if I put it out a couple days ago, but if you didn't see it, it's linked in the caption. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, it will be linked in the caption. So if you want, you can pause this and go fill that out and come back, or don't. I'm not your mommy. I can't tell you what to do. Your level of participation is totally up to you. When I was at rock bottom in 2012, I experienced judgment from many areas of my life. My ex, his family, doctors, bosses, roommates, friends. One by one, I would consider the judgment. I would consider the validity of it and do my best. If there was any truth to it, I would try and do my best to resolve, whatever it is that was the problem. But sometimes people just don't have enough information. They're making their judgment on your highlight reel. And sometimes the information that they need to make an informed decision is in here. It's stuck in your head, and you can't give it to them. You can't give people your experiences so that they completely understand. It's just not possible. So people who judge you are judging on their perception, the way they're perceiving it. And it's just an opinion on the way that they see things. So let's say your roommate, partner, parent left the room 20 minutes ago as you were sitting in a chair. And shortly after they left, you got up and did a bunch of chores, did the dishes, folded a load of laundry, whatever. And now you're tired, so you sit back down. And just as you get comfortable, they come back into the room again. And so in their eyes, all they've seen is you sitting in a chair. They didn't know that you got up and did things. So they say, geez, you're so lazy. And that's simple to understand. It's based on their perception that you never left the chair. They're making an assumption. One thing that really helped me with this was my oldest son was very stealthy. I would yell at him, empty the dishwasher. And then I'd be doing something else and didn't see him come down. So I'd be like, Dad, empty the dishwasher. And then I still didn't see him, doing other things, whatever. And then finally I'd yell up, are you going to empty the dishwasher? And he'll yell, I already did. And I open the dishwasher and it's empty. But I didn't see him do it. So in my mind, he hadn't done it, and that's a perception issue. So let's see. Oh, another time I'll do what happens if I don't correct people. Correct people's assumptions. That was an interesting experiment. But for now, just focus on the fact that their judgment isn't justified. Whether you correct them or not, you know you're not lazy. You were just doing a bunch of things. So that's easy, right? It's easy to resist that. The realization that people judge you based on what they know and what they see led me to write the quote, "I'm everything you say I am to you, but your words do not define me to me." So someone can say to you, "You're lazy." Doesn't make you lazy. It's not a remote control where they say, "You're lazy," and then suddenly you're lazy. No, you have the ability to reject the assertions of others. Someone saying something to you doesn't make it true, but it's the fact that they see us that way, and that we're so tired, it's hard to understand. On my sheet that I did, where's my sheet? I filled out my own worksheet. So here it's the worksheet. On the left, I have things like, I didn't like the fact that I was always pulled into gossip, that I was nosy. Oh, I used to be so nosy. I tended to talk too much, which I try to constrain now as much as possible. I was controlling. A lot of people with chronic illness can't control their health, so they get very controlling in other aspects of their life, and I'll do a video about that too. I suppose that'd be a good one. I was afraid of confrontation. I didn't understand people. Like, I never really understood people. I didn't understand their intentions. Too gullible, too trusting, often taken advantage of. There's a list, right? I'm just being real. I'm not afraid of you judging me, so I can go ahead and do that. Let's see. There were a lot of things about myself I didn't like, and I had to learn to let go of judging myself so that I could change them. It's hard to make something different so you feel better about yourself when you're beating yourself up for it. So if you haven't seen my What Happens If I Don't Beat Myself Up, I'd recommend that. It's on the channel. Okay, on the right-hand side of my paper, I had, "I'm a loving and kind person. I'm funny and happy. I'm a giver, and I have a strong work ethic. And I'm smart and a problem solver. And I don't hate my looks." I can work with all that, right? I mean, that's doable. It's something to build on. And that's what I did. The first thing that I did was focus on love and gratitude. You know those bumper stickers, "I love skiing" or whatever? I cut off the end of one, so it was just "I love," and I made that my cover photo on Facebook. And I just did. I just walked around loving everything that I could find that was worth loving, and I filled my heart with love for the things in my life that were good. Seems a little cheesy, maybe, but love is very powerful, in case you didn't know. When I hit social pitfalls, as I often have throughout my life, my brain would go back to my sheet. I don't like that I gossip, and this person is gossiping to me, and I want to be liked by people, but I also want to like myself. That's important. So I would say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm running late for work. I gotta run. Hope everything works out for you." And that was it. I didn't participate in the verbal tearing down of the other person. And it felt really good. Hang on. Oh, I have like something stuck in my throat. Dysphagia is a thing. Okay. So I wanted more. Once I figured out I could avoid gossiping, even though I had never successfully done that before, I wanted more of being that kind of person, and I really leaned into the things I liked about myself and started to reverse the things that I didn't like about myself. The important thing in making any change is your character has to be in balance. And you balance your character by keeping a balance between the things you think, say, and do. So if I think I don't want to participate in gossip, and if I say I don't want to participate in gossip, but then I do participate in gossip, then you're off balance. You need to be balanced with the things you think, say, and do in order for things to change. And it's simple, but it's not easy. And it just takes you working on it. This is why I had so many problems, because I would accept the judgment of others because my character was off balance. I knew who I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who didn't participate in gossip, but I kept doing it. I kept falling into that social pitfall. And so when other people would judge me for that, it would hurt. I would feel it because it was true. And I needed to change it. And I was able to. I wish I had a better memory and then I wouldn't have to read all this. If only I wasn't so sleepy. This is why I had so many problems, because I would accept the judgment of others and let that get in between what I think, say, and do. And that's so funny. Did I have a page out of order here, I think? All right. We're super sensitive from the sleep deprivation, and that leads us down a path to believing the things that people say. So when people say we're lazy, sorry about the coughing, we could tend to believe that whether we believe it or not. We let it in because they think it, we think we have to accept it, and we don't, especially if we know we're not lazy. All right, we're almost done here. Okay, all right, so you want to try some things to practice. Until you apply something, you're never going to know if it works or not. So I literally asked myself, what happens if I don't accept the judgment of others? And then I just started trying it just to see what happens. So someone hurls a judgment at me, I assess it. Is it true? Is it partially true? Can I see where they're coming from? Should I bother correcting them? Which is usually no for most of that, except for the why I could see why they think that. So come up with new tricks for yourself. Like when someone says you're lazy, think to yourself, fake news, it's fake news. It's not true. And that's all you have to say to yourself, is just to acknowledge that it's not true. Sometimes when people say things to me that's just obviously like they just don't know what they're talking about, I'll think to myself, well, they're a limited thinker. Like they can't think outside of themselves. On the World Narcolepsy Day post, someone commented, I'll trade you for my insomnia. And that's just limited thinking, because you can't comprehend one when you have the other, solely the other. A lot of people with narcolepsy have insomnia, but it's a judgment. They're making a judgment, and it's based on information that they don't have. And seeing that, you can get it. You can let them continue to walk their own path with dignity, because it doesn't matter to you if you correct them or not, right? I mean, it shouldn't matter. I just said that. Judith Orloff, she's an empath and an MD. And in her book, The Empath Survival Guide, I read the quote, "Everyone deserves the dignity of walking their own path." And it really stuck with me, especially when I was saying something and people were saying the opposite to me. Like, how much of my time and energy do I want to put into convincing them what I think and believe and know to be true? and usually it wasn't much. Think of not accepting judgment from people as a sort of roll call. You know, you've been in class where they called roll before. So in this class, you're the only student and the teacher is calling out personality traits. Kindness, here. Problem solving skills, here. Laziness. Laziness. Has anyone seen laziness? You just don't put your hand up. Just don't accept it. Especially if you know you're not lazy. If you are lazy, then only you can do something about that. But if you're not, just don't listen. It doesn't really matter what other people think. You can let them think what they think. Even people who are super close to you, you can let them have a misperception. What is important is that you hold in yourself what you know to be true and just continue to act with that same character. Sometimes if you push against people's judgments, you can end up overdoing it yourself, you know, trying to end up really suffering from symptoms from trying to push yourself to overcome that person's perception of you. And that's not what life's all about. It's not. Just be yourself. Oh, let's see. I know it seems ridiculously simple. It really does. Oh, just don't accept it. I mean, I've heard that Eleanor Roosevelt quote, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And my literal brain had a really hard time with that. Like, I didn't consent. I never said that they could say those things. But the reality is people can say whatever they want. It's on you whether or not you let it into your head. And if you want to try and make it different, all you have to do is ask yourself the question, what happens if I don't accept the judgment of others? And then go find out. Because we're not the same people. Everyone is different and everything happens for everyone differently. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. I have to go to work, of course. If you're enjoying these videos every Wednesday, please comment and let me know what you liked about it. If you listened this far, go ahead and give me a comment and say, I made it. And then we'll know that you made it all the way to the end. Like the video, it'll help more people see it. And share it with your friends if you found it valuable to you and you think it might be valuable to them. Come visit me on the Positively Narcolepsy page on Facebook or on my blog at goingbeyondcoping.com. If you have a topic that you'd like to see in this What Happens If I Don't series, feel free to comment that too. Thank you so much. Make it a great day. The choice is always yours.